As Hurricane Bonnie hits North Carolina, it brings with it high winds, heavy rain, and flooding. This is Wrightsville Beach on the coast, which is just east of Wilmington. And as we put radar into motion, Bonnie continues to move ever so slowly along the North Carolina coast. And one of the biggest concerns at this hour is flooding rain. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here for Weather Center. I'm Dan Atkinson in the Forecast Center on an afternoon when Hurricane Bonnie continues to make slow progress but steady progress toward landfall along the North Carolina coast. And as it does so, the rain continues to fall, the seas continue to rise, and there is flooding reported. As we take another look at radar, I want to let you know that 12 inches of standing water has been reported in the Plaza East Shopping Center in Wrightsville Beach in New Hanover County. Again, Wrightsville Beach is east of Wilmington. Flooding water has been reported up to the windows of a car on Bayshore Drive in the Ogden area of Wilmington. And flood warnings are in effect now for Brunswick County, as well as New Hanover County, Bender County, and eastern portions of Columbus and Bladen counties, all in southeastern North Carolina. Skywarn spotters have reported 5.18 inches of rain near the battleship and 4.8 inches of rain in other parts of Wilmington. So the rain continues to fall as the storm continues to make slow movement toward the north. As we see here through the satellite view, you can see it is still a very large storm, Category 3, a major hurricane, packing sustained winds of 115 miles per hour. Those highest winds are still offshore. We haven't seen any reports of anything near that high, fortunately, so far along the coastal areas, but it is certainly taking a battering, particularly the southeastern portions of the state of North Carolina. And standing by in North Carolina's Wrightsville Beach is the Weather Channel's Bill Keneally. Bill, what's the latest where you are?
Dan, seemingly the worst, I hope, is over down here on Wrightsville Beach. Again, to emphasize, we're about a half a mile inland. Looking behind me, things have brightened up considerably. I'm not sure if that eye is going to pass our way. It'd be awfully nice to catch a reprieve from both the wind and the rain. I might add, I've got dishpan hands, I think. But safe to say the damage has been incurred. At least a 50-year-old live oak tree is down. A car is demolished behind it. There are many, many reports of a lot of trees down. Our power went out many hours ago, too, by the way. I think our power was out by about mid-morning here. Show you some video from the area. You'll be able to see the damage incurred over the last couple of hours. We've shot this video, like I said, within like the last 2 hours. A lot of trees down, some signs down, a fair amount of water on the roadway, and an awful lot of rain has fallen, of course. And then down towards the intracoastal waterway, there was a high tide, which came in after the high tide, if you know what I mean. And there was water on a lot of the roadways down that way. Dan, as far as the information on the barrier islands go, it is sketchy, but we do understand now, even as early as 8 o'clock this morning, there was water coming through the berm area, coming through the dunes, and coming down onto the roadways. So it looks like that was, what, about 9 hours before a landfall. And then there was high tide about 11 o'clock that morning, so I'm sure there was a lot of flooding incurred on the barrier island of Wrightsville Beach. So that's the latest from here. Let's turn it back to you guys back in Atlanta.
Thanks a lot, Bill. We'll be checking back with you there at Wrightsville Beach. And we're joined here in the Forecast Center by Weather Channel hurricane expert John Hope. And John, as this storm moves slowly toward landfall, it is producing a lot of flooding in low-lying areas.
It certainly is. You have the tidal flooding, of course, and then you have the flooding induced by rainfall.
Now, what about as we take a look at the satellite picture? We still don't see any distinct eye, do we?
No, but we can see where the circulation center is pretty well, right about there. And it is sliding, I believe it's going to go just a tad east of Wilmington, because the wind at Wilmington is out of the east-northeast, has stayed that way, and it looks as if it's about to slide just east of Wilmington.
Well, the latest coordinates, and these as of 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, place the center of Hurricane Bonnie at latitude 33.9 north, longitude 78 west. That was about 25 miles south of Wilmington. Again, that was as of 4 p.m., so the storm has continued its movement toward the north at about 10 miles per hour. Still maximum sustained winds offshore about 115 miles per hour, and the central pressure about 963 millibars. What are these latest statistics?
Well, that's up a little bit, Dan. We were watching some interest a while ago when the pressure went down to 960 millibars. Now it's back up to 963. We would be surprised to see it try to get developed much of any better. with the center of the eye that close to land.
A lot of friction over the land
Right,
surface
and this
now.
is not a very classic eye, Dan, and a lot of hurricanes have a much more classic eye. They have an eye wall, and that shows up very well on satellite picture. They don't really have much of an eye wall. The last one of the last recon fixes did, though, indicate there was an eye at 17 miles in diameter.
Well, as we see, the hurricane warning area is still in effect from Cape Romaine, South Carolina to Chincoteague, Virginia. What would you say to those within that span of the coast?
Well, we would say to be watchful, of course, on the southern end of it down toward Cape Romaine. We don't think they're going to have any hurricane conditions unless they have them right away. So we would expect that those warnings would be discontinued. But certainly all the way up the coast, east and north of where the warnings are in effect, they're going to be there for quite a while, and people need to heed those. And we hope that everyone has already done what they need to do to get ready for the hurricane.